The moment you step into a fossil museum, it's like walking into a time machine. The lights dim, the air cools, and suddenly you're staring at the remains of creatures that walked the earth over 100 million years ago. But beyond the glass cases and dramatic lighting lies a deeper story, one few ever hear. Have you ever wondered who discovered these fossils? Or how many of them were misidentified for decades? This isn't just a museum of bones. It's a vault of forgotten history, scientific feuds, wild expeditions, and stunning revelations. Some fossils were uncovered by accident, by farmers, miners, or even children playing in creeks. Others were found after dangerous missions into deserts or frozen tundras, led by eccentric scientists willing to risk everything for a glimpse of the past. What we see today mounted in pristine displays is only the final act in a drama that spans centuries. And what if we told you many of these bones, though, now silent, carry secrets we're still trying to decode? In this journey, we're going to pull back the curtain on these hidden stories. You may never look at a fossil the same way again. Not all fossils end up in museums. For every specimen proudly displayed, hundreds are stored away in drawers, crates, or forgotten archives. Some of these fossils hold clues to extinct species no one has named yet. In fact, museums often contain more undiscovered species than active dig sites. But why are they hidden? Sometimes it's due to lack of funding or time. Other times, fossils were collected decades ago and mislabeled or ignored, waiting for the right scientist to rediscover them. There's even a term for it: drawer fossils. In one case, a fragment of a jawbone sat unnoticed in a British museum for over 70 years until a paleontologist realized it belonged to one of the earliest known mammals. Fossils also get swapped between museums, lost in paperwork, or mislabeled during wars. Some were stolen and recovered decades later in black market raids. These aren't just rocks, they're keys to our evolutionary story. Every dusty crate could rewrite a chapter in Earth's history. Museums aren't just about what's on display, they're about the mysteries waiting to be found in the shadows, in the boxes, in the silence. Behind every fossil is a story of discovery and sometimes controversy. In the 19th century, two rival scientists, Edward Cope and Othniel Marsh, waged the infamous Bone Wars. They raced to find the most dinosaur fossils in the American West, often sabotaging each other, stealing bones, and even destroying fossils so the other wouldn't have them. The result: dozens of new species were found, but also many errors, rushed identifications, and scientific chaos. Some of the fossils they unearthed were later corrected or reclassified by future generations. And this rivalry wasn't unique. Throughout history, fossil discoveries have sparked ego battles, funding wars, and academic feuds. Even today, arguments rage over how to classify species or interpret bone structures. Museums are the final stage in these debates, displaying the results, but rarely the messy process behind them. In one exhibit, you might see a dinosaur skeleton reconstructed from 60% imagination and 40% real bones. Labels might change every few years as new studies emerge. So, when you visit a fossil hall, remember, you're not just looking at ancient bones. You're seeing the aftermath of scientific drama rivalries and decades of reinterpretation. Every fossil in a museum carries the fingerprints of countless hands: scientists, artists, curators, volunteers. But before it gets to the display, it survives a grueling journey. It starts with excavation digging fragile bones from ancient rock, often in harsh environments. Paleontologists work for hours under blazing suns or freezing winds, using dental picks and brushes to free fossils without breaking them. Once excavated, fossils must be wrapped in plaster jackets carefully labeled and transported, sometimes over thousands of miles. Then comes preparation. In special labs, technicians remove the remaining rock repair breaks and sometimes reconstruct missing parts based on educated guesses. It can take years to prep a single skeleton. One famous T-Rex fossil took over 10,000 hours to prepare for display. Then comes mounting. Steel frames are custom built to hold the bones, often in lifelike poses. It's a mix of science and sculpture. And even then, many displays use casts rather than originals to protect the real fossils. All this effort means that what you see in a fossil museum isn't just a pile of bones. It's a monument to human patience, skill, and obsession with the past. Museums also preserve moments of pure chance. In 1979, a retired nuclear physicist stumbled upon a nearly complete mammoth skeleton while walking his dog in Nebraska. In Canada, a miner spotted something odd in the wall. He had unknowingly uncovered one of the best preserved armored dinosaurs ever found. These discoveries weren't made by scientists, but by everyday people whose curiosity changed paleontology forever. Museums often rely on these moments. Many major finds happen during construction projects, mining operations, or farming. Fossils are found in riverbeds, cliffs, and even basements. One woman discovered marine fossils embedded in the floor tiles of her Italian villa quarry stone, unknowingly cut from a fossil-rich formation. Museums collect these unexpected gifts and build stories around them. They also run public outreach programs, encouraging citizen scientists to report strange rocks or bones. In fact, the next major discovery might be sitting in someone's backyard right now. What's remarkable is that museums turn these chance encounters into permanent records of life's history. Every time a fossil is found by accident, it reminds us how thin the line is between ordinary life and deep time, and how anyone, even without a degree, can change what we know about prehistory. While fossils may seem silent, fossil museums are anything but. With modern technology, these institutions are becoming immersive storytelling machines. High-resolution CT scans let scientists peek inside fossilized skulls to study brain size and structure. 3D printing allows researchers to create accurate replicas for study teaching or even reassembly of shattered specimens. In one case, an ancient crocodile was digitally reconstructed from hundreds of broken pieces found in a single rock slab. Museums are also embracing augmented reality and interactive exhibits to bring fossils to life. Imagine pointing your phone at a skeleton and seeing how that dinosaur moved, hunted, or cared for its young. Or hearing the likely sound of a long-extinct mammal reconstructed from fossilized vocal chambers. These advances mean fossils are no longer static, they're part of an evolving story. In one museum, visitors can use a touchscreen to age fossils, watching how the bones became mineralized over time. Others let you handle real fragments under microscopes. For older audiences, these tools open up a whole new way of connecting to science, not just reading about the past, but seeing it unfold in real time. Museums today aren't just preserving fossils. They're decoding them, amplifying their voices, and giving the ancient world a second life. But not all fossil stories are about dinosaurs or mammoths. Some of the most fascinating specimens in museums are tiny, overlooked, or misunderstood. A single tooth can reveal an entire species. A fossilized burrow tells us how ancient animals behaved. One museum in Germany displays fossilized raindrops. Yes, actual indentations made by raindrops on mud millions of years ago, now turned to stone. These subtle fossils paint a richer picture of prehistoric ecosystems. They show us not just who lived, but how they lived. Paleobotany exhibits show fossilized leaves and seeds that hint at entire ancient forests. Some even preserve chemical traces of ancient climates, letting us know whether it was humid, dry, or oxygen-rich when dinosaurs roamed. Insects trapped in amber still shimmer with color. And then there's coprolite fossilized dung. It may sound unpleasant, but these droppings offer unmatched insight into diet health and ecosystems. Museums use these traces to tell stories we can't get from bones alone. These exhibits remind us that life is made of more than giant predators. Sometimes the tiniest fossils hold the loudest truths. If you only look up at towering skeletons, you might miss the miracles hiding underfoot. Every fossil museum also holds emotional stories of survival loss and rediscovery. Take Sue, the world's most complete T-Rex skeleton. Her discovery in South Dakota sparked a years-long legal battle over ownership between a private landowner, the government, and the fossil hunters. The case made national headlines and reshaped fossil ownership laws in the United States. Or consider Mary Anning, a working-class woman in 9th century England who discovered some of the most important marine fossils ever found. Despite her contributions, she was ignored by the male-dominated scientific community of her time. Today, museums proudly honor her legacy. These stories matter. They reveal the human dimension behind the science. Fossils don't just lie in rock, they lie in memory, in legal documents, in the passions and heartbreaks of those who unearthed them. And sometimes, the emotion lies in the fossil itself. A mother Protoceratops fossil was found still guarding her nest. A dinosaur trackway revealed a limping animal being helped by others, evidence of herd behavior and care. These stories elevate fossils from specimens to symbols of life, struggle, and connection. Museums, when done right, don't just teach, they move us. They remind us that the past is personal and the prehistoric world isn't as distant as we think. Even the buildings themselves can tell stories. Some fossil museums are housed in grand neoclassical halls, while others are ultra-modern structures shaped like bones or shells. In some towns, the local fossil museum is inside an old courthouse, schoolhouse, or barn, repurposed spaces that carry their own histories. The architecture becomes part of the experience. A museum in China has a glass floor that lets you walk over real fossil beds. In Argentina, one sits beside the actual cliffs where fossils are still being excavated. These settings remind visitors that discovery doesn't stop at the entrance. Museums are also places of community. School groups come through daily. Grandparents bring their grandkids, amateur fossil collectors share their finds. Workshops and lectures connect people across generations. Retired scientists volunteer to share their lifetime of knowledge. And, for many fossil museums, spark the first moment of scientific wonder, standing before a skeleton that once breathed, moved, lived. These places are more than just educational. They're emotional. They bring awe, nostalgia, curiosity. They remind us that we're part of a vast and ancient story. In that way, a museum is not an endpoint. It's a portal. As you exit a fossil museum, there's often one final moment, a lingering glance at a massive skull, a fossilized footprint, a child pointing in wonder. You carry something with you, not just facts, but perspective. Fossils aren't just ancient remains. They are messengers from a world we barely understand. They remind us of deep time of extinction, of survival. They show us that Earth has changed before and will change again. In a world of fast headlines and short memories, fossil museums stand for something enduring. They teach patience, evidence, and the humility of not knowing everything. They also spark questions. What haven't we discovered yet? What stories lie buried under our feet? Could the next great fossil find happen tomorrow in a backyard, a quarry, or a museum drawer? That's the magic. Fossil museums aren't about the past. They're about the thrill of uncovering truth one bone at a time. And they're about us, what we choose to remember, protect, and learn. So the next time you walk into a fossil museum, look past the displays. Listen for the silence. That's where the untold stories are.